Well folks, this episode's going to be a cracker because we're testing the Y62 Patrol versus the Landcruiser 200. Now we are going to be taking these things from the highway to the bush tracks, so strap yourselves in and come for a ride.
Nobody's harder than me, I'm a breaker of chains, I'm living it free. Trust what I said and not what you see. Nobody keeping it on to the next. Give me respect, I live this like then on to the next. Give me respect, I live this like then on to the next. I flex different than them boys that ain't been grinding strong. You can spot a winner cause his money and his fortune long. But I'ma get my bag every day.
I'm absolutely blown away by both vehicles, and there is a standout.
On to the next.
At BMW, we see a lot of Land Cruisers, and people are starting to think that we are just pro cruiser and we're not into any other types of four drives at all. Now look, it's true, I'm a bit of a Toyota man. I've owned 79 series Land Cruisers, the 200, I've had RAV4s and Hiluxes. Look, Toyota's my preference to go to, but I own a lot of other different four drives as well. So we've built Colorados, Ford Rangers, Pajeros, Tritons, and all that sort of jazz. So I'm not just biased to Toyota because I spread it around. However, for towing, there's two cars that really stand out, and that's the Landcruiser 200 and the Y62 Patrol. Well, there's no doubt that the American trucks are absolute cracking tow vehicles, but today it's all about the Nissan and the Toyota, because these guys have got great dealer network around Australia. So if you have a problem when you've hooked up your caravan and you're travelling remotely or anywhere like that, you can go into a Nissan or a Toyota dealer and you should be able to get fixed up pretty quick. Now there's a fair few differences between these vehicles, but there's pros and cons to go along with it as well. This video is to share my thoughts, especially if you're in the market for a tow vehicle. So let's go check them out. This is a 2021 Nissan Patrol Ti. Now that's a very similar spec to a Landcruiser VX200. In the Nissan Patrol, they have a 5.6 litre bundle of fun V8 that's got 298 kilowatts, 560 Newton-meters of torque, and running through a 7-speed gearbox. Now these Patrols, they weigh in at just over 2,800 kilos, have 690 kilos of payload, and can tow that big 3.5 tonne. Nissan advertise that these big Patrols have a combined fuel consumption of 14.4 litres per 100, which I find a little bit hard to believe. And that is why we are doing all these comparisons today. Now the interior in these Patrols are pretty cool. You've got the wood grain, you've got a really nice comfy steering wheel with all easy access controls on there. You've got this centre management piece here which is really functional. You know, you've got your stereo, you've also got this cool shifter, it's really nice to use, you put it over in sports mode and all that sort of stuff, but the standout in this car to me is this four-wheel drive functionality. You've got the sand, rock, snow, quite simple to use, and you know the biggest win in this car? Factory rear diff lock. So this is a 2021 Landcruiser 200 with the big twin-turbo V8 diesel, which pumps out 200 kilowatts and 650 Newton-meters of torque. The Landcruiser weighs in at 2,740 kilos and has a carrying capacity of 610, which both those figures are slightly down on the Patrol. But the big cruiser still tows that 3.5 tonne really well. Now Toyota say that these big twin-turbo V8 diesels get a combined fuel consumption of 9.5 litres per 100. Now I tell you what, they must drive it a hell of a lot easier than I do, because I've never been able to get that type of fuel consumption out of these big things myself, ever. But let's give it a red hot shot today and see how we go. Now the interior on these Land Cruisers on a VX or a Sahara is second to none. The finish is just absolutely fabulous. Now the functionality is really, really good too. You've got your touchscreen display there. You've got all your other setups here. Beautiful little bit of wood grain on the steering wheel. Now the other thing is, these ones here have crawl control. Doesn't have factory diff lock. Crawl control is okay, but the factory diff lock in the Patrol, I tell you, it's got me one. The caravan that we're using today for the tow comparison is a caravan that I picked up on the second-hand market. Now, I've towed this van to lots of places around Australia, and I tell you what, it tows absolutely fantastically. But the big thing why I wanted to use it for this tow test today is that it's a 3.5 tonne GVM, which matches both maximum tow capacities of both vehicles. You might be wondering, why are we doing this tow comparison and test of the two vehicles now? The thing is, I know the Land Cruiser 200's coming to the end of its run, but there's heaps of these vehicles on the second-hand market. The Y62 and the 200 are a really popular thing. Now, saying that, you can just go buy one of these from the second-hand market, hook onto your caravan and start touring this absolutely awesome country that we all live in. Quite like this view of the 360-degree view camera on the Patrol here, and the actual reversing camera is quite good for looking at the tow bar. So let's see how she goes. Look at that. You can see that perfectly. And the sensors have just come on and it's beeping. So you're in that sort of proximity. But I tell you, that is such a good view of the ball, and the top of the drawbar of the caravan makes life so much easier. Well, here we are. We pulled up at the 𝗕𝗢𝗚𝗘𝗘 servo. I've got a bit of a cool route sorted out for today. A bit of gravel, a few hills and all that sort of stuff. So let's get some fuel in it, we'll get cracking. And what we'll do is we'll wait till it first clicks, and then we'll wait for about 20 seconds and we'll go again until the second click, and then we'll do that on every time we fill up so we know, and we'll try and use this exact same 𝗬𝗢𝗟 every time, so it gives us a true reflection of the fuel economy. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Here we go. Second click done. We get a whole sum of 27.74 litres. Well, we've just been to the servo, we've filled the car up, we've done the 2 clicks, which is very important to make sure the car is full. I'll just zero the speedometer. Let's get this show on the road. Well, we've filled up the Patrol and we're now ambling through a little town called 𝗕𝗢𝗚𝗘𝗘, going up the back blocks here. We're going to hit some dirt road in a minute. Look, so far the Patrol is doing it really, really nicely. It's not working hard. We're going to find out how much this caravan weighs and the Patrol in a package very soon, but let's see how it tackles the dirt roads and these hills first. We'll go and stop at the 𝗬𝗢𝗚𝗟𝗏 lookout and have a bit of a look. Really, really nice spot there. So I'll talk to you soon. This little section where it's going to be a little bit wild. We've come off the gravel onto a little bit of bitumen, and then we're going to be taking this shortcut to the other little bit of a bitumen road that I've got planned on doing. It's not too, like, I suppose it's not too out there, but we've only got a semi-off-road van that we're going to be taking through this track, and lots of people will probably think that I'm going to be mad by taking this through there, but when you're trying to get into all these hard to get camp spots, you know, whether you've got the semi-off-road or a full off-road van, you want to know if you're going to be able to do it. And I reckon these Patrols and Landcruisers are going to eat it all up, to be honest. Now, I'm not going to engage four-wheel drive just yet. I'll get round this corner. She's tight. She's a long one. The old long dog getting around the corner. Yeah, we got in there all right. It's going to be a little bit tight, this track. I'm rubbing some grass at the moment. I'll be rubbing some trees. Hopefully not too badly. The old caravan just needs that little bit extra clearance. I think I might have to swap the suspension over them. So on the springs, the axles are on the top side of the spring at the moment. I might just put them on the bottom side, just give it, you know, an extra 3 inches of lift, and I won't have those problems with it actually bottoming out. Another thing I must mention about this Patrol is the handbrake. It hasn't got the conventional handbrake down beside the seat where you'd rip it up, you know, or some of the newer cars got those hydraulic ones electronically activated that you pull up and push down. This one's got a foot pedal, and you know, showing my age here, but it's got a handbrake much the same as an old 𝗕𝗢𝗚𝗕𝗘, which is another cool thing, I reckon. You press it down with your foot, like so. You want to release it, you press down on it again, it comes back up. Absolutely simple. Another cool little thing from Nissan. Tell you what, this Patrol will be a beast with some 35-inch tyres, the rear diff lock, and look, if you ended up putting another mod on it and did a front diff lock, wow. Right, got her out of four-wheel drive, nothing coming, into Cape, onto the bitumen. Shortcut, done and dusted. Could not be happier. On the dirt road now, and the car is still handling very well. So the road noise is not too bad with the bumps and the clunks. One thing I have noticed about this Patrol though, the steering is extremely light, and that is like very nice when you're parking it, but can be a little bit, like now I've just had to kick it back, it's getting a little bit steeper, and as soon as you kick it back in gear, it starts to get a bit twitchy on the front. Another thing I've noticed here with the petrol engine, it hasn't got much torque. It's clicked back down to second gear, and it's revving quite hard. Look, it's got plenty of power, but see, that's another thing. I'll put the foot down like that. It wants to pull to the left quite badly. We'll see how it goes. A bit of a steep gravel road at the moment. Patrol's doing it quite easily. I've got it locked down in first gear, climbing up this hill, just so it doesn't, you know, break traction and all that sort of stuff. Just trying to take it a bit easier. It's towing it reasonably with ease, to be honest, because as soon as you put the foot down, it really jerks around and wants to, you know, traction control kicks in and all that sort of jazz. And heaps of power. Cannot fault this with power. Like I said, as soon as you want it to point up there a bit and you want to give it a bit more herbs, lurches around and pulls the steering wheel to the side. I mean, that's the only thing I can really pick of it now. I mean, it's towing a reasonably big van up a snotty gravel road that is quite steep. I think it's going pretty good so far. Here we are, we've come off the dirt and we're heading up to 𝗬𝗢𝗕𝗏's Lookout. It's a really lovely spot there. I can tell you the Patrol is going really well. You know, I'm very surprised how easily it tows the van, being a petrol and not having as much torque as the turbo diesels. It's comfortable, the interior's lovely, the road noise is not too bad. Tell you what, it's pretty hard to fault so far. Just left 𝗬𝗢𝗕𝗏's Lookout and we're heading back down towards Esk now from Ravensbourne. We're going to be turning left shortly and that's going to take us across the top of Perseverance Dam. It's a beautiful bit of scenery there. Car is towing really well. So we're off the dirt for a while now, so on the bitchy. Floating around a little bit. I'm not too sure about this independent rear suspension having a bit of downball weight with the caravan, but we'll soon see how it all turns out when, you know, when I tow with the Cruiser back to back. Might feel very similar. We're sitting on 100 now, we're going up and down the hills, and it's not hunting gears, it's not, you know, dropping back too much. It seems to have found its sweet spot. It's got some reasonable torque for a petrol engine. I mean, it should for 5.6 litres of pure muscle. But anyway, it's pretty happy. It's nice. I don't know if you can hear in the cab. Road noise is reasonably okay. Like I said, the only thing that really gets me is the steering is extremely light. It feels a little bit twitchy, especially with the caravan sort of pushes you a little bit in the corners. You sort of fight it a bit. That's the only one thing so far that is irritating me. Oh, we've just driven across the Perseverance Dam wall and there's a steep little pinch coming up out of here, a little bit of a range. We'll see how she pulls up here. Might put it back to manual mode. No, actually, I'll leave it in drive. Well, here it goes, it's kicked back. Pulling up here very easily. See if it hunts some gears up on this steep pinch. What the gear that is in at the moment, it's trying to keep it. It's holding 60k an hour. All good so far. Back off for the corner. Is it going to kick back? Come on, kick back. Here it goes. Wants that other gear, but it's not labouring, I suppose. It's not too bad. There it goes. It's dropped back now. Going up a gear. It's doing it reasonably effortlessly, really. As soon as you put the foot down a bit, she kicks right back. I think it really goes up a gear too soon. So it goes back, up, up. Hunts gears. That's the less torque in the petrol. I would usually throw it back manual mode and choose a gear that it just stays in. But for this purpose, you know, if you're just cruising along, leaving it in drive, I don't think it's too bad. It's just personal preference really, how you like to drive. Well, we're on the highway now. I've got the cruise control set at 100. The Patrol's towing the van at 100, no worries. Hunting gears a little bit because it's undulated. Just coming into an 80 zone actually. On the steering wheel itself, we've got your radio here on the left. You can choose your channels. And on the right over here, you can see I'm just setting that cruise control back down to 60 for the 60 zone. We've got volume here on the left as well, and then we've got touch to talk and then answer your telephone. Over here we've got the cruise control, as I said, but you've got the cancel button, you've got your up and down like your resume and your set, your on and off button. And then in these Patrols, even the base model, the Ti that we're driving at the moment, it has adaptive cruise control, which is really, really good. You know, this is similar spec to a VX Landcruiser, but having those extra little features like the adaptive cruise makes a world of difference to your driving and ease of driving and your safety as well. And yeah, and then you've got this other button down here. It actually gives you a bit of lane assist. It tells you when you go outside of the lines and all that sort of jazz. But look, the Patrol is a fantastic vehicle, and bang for buck, I tell you what, they are an absolute weapon of a car and tows this van like nothing at the moment. Like I said, it hunts a few gears, it revs, but that's how the engine's designed. But you know, that growl that comes from the petrol engine, if this car had an exhaust, and even better, if it had a supercharger, that would really get me going, I can tell you. We just came down a bit of a downward slope. I wouldn't say it's a massive hill. It was some sort of melancholy type. The road was not real flash. Coming down there, and really pushing the back of the Patrol around. I really have a feeling that that's got to do with the independent rear suspension. I don't know if you can see how much we're sort of moving around at the moment, but when the car hasn't got the van on the back, it doesn't do that. It really is walking the car, which is a bit nerve-wracking really. I've done a lot of towing in my time, especially with my old 79. I had a 79 series from 2012 model. November 2012, and I had it for 5 years, and I had a Jayco work and play caravan, and I towed it all over the countryside. Leaf sprung vehicle like that, it doesn't push the car around so bad. And then I put it on my 200 when I first bought a 200, and I found that with the standard suspension it actually pushed that around as well a little bit, but nowhere near as bad as this Patrol. I really think that that's the independent rear suspension. It's more when you're travelling down the hill as well. When you seem to be going up the hill, it doesn't have that push and wanting to really move the car around as bad, because you're actually pulling the weight up the hill. It's all keeping it in line. Well, how about that? We've gone on the gravel roads, up some really steep hills, on some bitumen, through some really nice undulating country, down the highway, back into 𝗬𝗢𝗨 here. We've pulled into our local weighbridge. I want to see how heavy this really is, so come with me, we'll go see the guy and we'll get the ticket. Well, I've got the ticket, but I don't know whether I want to tell you how heavy we really are at the moment. I reckon we'll save that right to the end. Well, we're just about to go down the 𝗬𝗢𝗨 range. We'll just see what it's like heading down the hill. Seeing it's got not a huge amount of engine braking, so I'm going to put it back into manual mode. It's in third gear now, back to second. It's holding 60 at the moment. Here she goes. It's a slight bit of brake. Slight bit of brake. Here we go. Around this truck. Yeah, it's not too bad really. You just got to dab the brake a little bit just to keep it at 60. If you didn't put it in manual mode, you'd be riding the brakes constantly down the hill though. I think that's just a petrol thing. That is sitting around roughly 3,800 RPM down the hill. No real complaints about the Patrol so far. It tows the van quite effortlessly, and that's all you can really ask for. One thing I must say about the Patrol, the turning circle is absolutely fabulous. The brakes are fabulous as well. Just a cracker. This part of the road's a fair bit smoother. Coming down the range here, I'm in the 80 zone now. The van's not pushing it around. Quite liking it. So it must be just those melon hole sort of country it's not liking, where all the bitumen's sunk and all that sort of stuff, where the road's not that smooth. I mean, anything's going to move around, isn't it? We'll soon see when we get in the cruiser what it does to it. Well, we've just cruised around, done our round trip. Like I said before, up some nice undulating country, dirt roads, gravel roads, all the terrain you can think of we've just done. Highway, town, crossed the weighbridge. Now we're here at the servo. Let's see how much it takes. Well, I'm interested to see how many litres that's going to take for that rough 115, 120 k's that we've done. My guess for the average fuel consumption is maybe 24 litres for the 100. Ooh. We'll better give it a second click, eh? 5, 6, 7, 8, 17, 18, 19, 20. We'll give her another crack. Look at that, second click. Tell ya, we weren't too far off the money. Have a look at that. Once I've paid for the fuel, we'll work out the exact fuel consumption per 100 k's. Well, how about that? We've done 120.5 k's on that big loop. All those steep gravel hills, and we've gone through the scrub, and we've done the highway as well. I tell you, this Patrol has not faltered the whole time, and I'm actually really blown away with how it's driven. The sound in the cab's been fantastic. The interior, it's been really, really comfy. And you know what, to top it all off? It has only used 26.82 litres for that 120 k's. And that works out to be 22.25 litres per 100. And I tell you, for a big V8 petrol engine, that has blown me away. That is really, really good fuel economy. Because when we just put it over the weighbridge, the whole combination came in at 5.98 tonne. So that works out roughly that the van is 3.2 tonne. So to do all that and only use 26 roughly litres, I tell you, it's absolutely phenomenal. So what do you reckon we go hook onto the Landcruiser now and see how good it goes? Right, I've jumped out of the car. Number one thing, handbrake, so it does not roll away. Got the old jockey wheel. Take a bit of weight. That one was a bit tight. Better than rattling loose, I suppose. Let's hope the old jockey wheel doesn't sink into the ground. Look at that. We'll go get the cruiser, stick her on. So we've got it in reverse. The camera is really clear. The 360-degree view on this one is fantastic also. Let's see if we can get this one nailed as well. Look at that, straight under, but that line's impeding with it. But look, it's still a great camera to use. It's got a good down view of the ball. So yeah, look, both vehicles, I couldn't really fault or choose between the cameras on those ones there when you're reversing onto the trailer to get your ball underneath the pull of the trailer. You know, they're both fantastic. So we've got that lined up pretty smick. We'll drop this down, we'll connect up the trailer, you know, make sure that we get this locked down. That's a common problem that people do. They get everything else sorted, get all the chains hooked up, and they forget to clip that down. Now, I've done that numerous times myself. You're in a hurry, but you just got to double check, because there's nothing worse than popping off and smashing into the back of your car. It just damages everything and it ruins your day. So my little tip for this one is I do this first. Once that's got the weight off that jockey wheel, pull the pin out, drop that down, make sure it's all connected. because it's embarrassing as well when you forget to do it. We'll do that last. Put these big bad boy chains on. One thing that's noticeably different about the Cruiser and the Patrol, when we got the Patrol, we actually had to put a tow bar on it. Landcruisers come factory with the tow bar inbuilt. You've just got to buy the tongue and wiring for them. These here are a lot larger and take better rated shackles. But look, it's much of a muchness in between it all really. Just a bit easier to put on probably between this and the Patrol. And another rookie error I've made numerous times as well is I leave the handbrake on. So make sure you don't do that as well, because you get about 50 metres down the track and you go, geez, why is this car a bit underpowered? Or if your brakes are just left dragging, they start smoking and you can do all sorts of damage to it. So make sure, get your handbrake off, double check it's all down, double check that it's all hooked up, and you're good to go. Well, here we are, filling up the Cruiser for the first time. So we'll get some fuel in it and we'll start our test in a moment. So the key difference with this one, obviously the Landcruiser is a diesel and the Patrol is a petrol. This one's got a little bit more to go in the tank, so I'll do the 2 clicks as I did last time, do the 20 seconds in between. You'll have to watch me count all over again. The old Caravan, she's a bit grubby. I'm getting towed all around the countryside. What about the Patrol near taking the step off? We'll see if the Cruiser does the same. So she's all filled up now. I've done the 2 clicks to make sure she's chock-a-block, so we'll get on the road. Here we go. We're going from the bitumen to the dirt for the first time with the big van on. Not much of a difference to the road noise so far. I can hear the rocks floating around. I don't know if you can on the audio at the moment. Car seems to be handling it well. Much of a muchness in comfort. The Landcruiser feels really planted on the road. Feels very safe putting it into the corners. I'm not saying that the Nissan Patrol didn't. It's just got a different feel, the Landcruiser. I really think that probably comes down to that light steering. Well, here we are. We're not too far away from the same place I took the Patrol through. That little shortcut I was talking about, where we go off the bitumen, we go through that pretty gnarly, you know, ups and downs. Well, actually, there's not many downs, but more ups with the sharp pinches and the woo boys in it and all that sort of stuff. So let's see how this Landcruiser performs against the Patrol. And it's going to be a pretty hard act to follow, to be honest. That Patrol has blown me away in every aspect. You know, the Landcruiser is supposed to be king of the mountain, you know? It is the pinnacle of all cars, and everything else is sort of a bit below it. I tell you what, that Patrol it's a game changer, honestly.
Pardon me and my tone. You can't step to my throne. They ain't working like me.
Here we are. Coming down to this sharp turn again. We know the Caravan goes through there nicely, and now the step's bent. We shouldn't have that problem again. Hopefully it'll just glide over that without doing too much damage to anything else. Here we go down this sharp corner again. Same with this 200. Tell you what, a good set of towing mirrors wouldn't go astray doing these tight bits. Obviously going down the highway so you can see what you're doing as well. But the standard mirrors aren't actually too bad. You can see a fair bit in this Cruiser. The step basher is just about to come up here. So pull up and put it in 4-wheel drive first though. Don't need to. Like I said, the rest of this track from here is quite sharp and nasty. Here we go. Righto. So, pop her over into neutral, put her in low 4. Okay. Now, this is give us mud and sand, loose rock. I'll put this in rock mode the same as the Patrol, so it should give us roughly apples for apples, like I said. Lock back down to first gear. I'm going to pop up here. Here we go. We're in 4 low. Probably should put that centre diff lock in. Okay, centre diff lock has not engaged yet. Patrol is getting a bit squirrely. The Cruiser is centre diff lock's not even on, and it's not even squirrely. Honestly, Cruiser on that steep pinch, in my opinion. V8 torque, centre diff lock wasn't engaged because I didn't put it in before I took off, but that doesn't matter. Still flashing. Once I stop, it'll engage. But just crawled up there, no problems whatsoever. Patrol did it easy too though as well. It just seemed to be, because I had to hold a few more revs, it just seemed to get a bit more squirrely. Cruiser actually was more planted, felt like it pulled the caravan up there a little bit easier than the Patrol.
Just wait and you'll see. They try to hold me. Push back. Just wait and you'll see. Please excuse me, Your Honor, but you can't hold me no longer. Can't you feel the vibrations? I broke out and left traces. Go ahead, try catch me if you can, man. You'll be looking all night, I'm the Sandman. New York, London to Japan. I'ma show the whole world who I am. Boom, boom, Major look, huh? Yeah, this one is for the books. All these chances I took still.
We have just finished at 𝗬𝗢𝗕𝗏𝗟𝗚𝗓𝗏, and what a magnificent view this afternoon. It was just so clear. So that means we finished that large section of dirt with those steep hills. The Cruiser absolutely loved it. It was really smooth on the gravel as well. Got onto the bitumen here now, and this is not a really great section of road. So I was talking yesterday, it's a bit melancholy where the bitumen's fallen into the ground, falling away below. It gives you that bouncy sort of rough feeling. I must admit, I don't want to be biased towards the Land Cruiser, but the Land Cruiser, it's just not getting shunted around by the caravan like the Nissan Patrol was. And I know I keep saying it, I really think it's got to do with that rear independent suspension on the Patrol versus the solid rear axle, coil sprung rear end like what the Land Cruiser's got. We talk power differences up those hills. Both vehicles were in first gear. They're that steep. You know, I put them across into manual mode. Look, both vehicles made light work of it. The Land Cruiser torque steered a fair bit. The Nissan Patrol was a bit squirrely, I call it. It's just twitchy on the steering, especially with a bit of load on it like that, pushing down on the rear end. Lightens up the front end. It's just, yeah, twitchy. Road noise. Land Cruiser's got the Patrol beat there. Road noise in the Land Cruiser is far less than the Patrol. And look, it's going to be a hard call for me to make a decision at the end of this comparison, because the Patrol ticks a lot of boxes. Like I said, the petrol V8 sounds great. The way the gearbox shifts, especially in manual mode. I like the light steering of the Patrol, especially when you're parking, you know, when you're going to the shopping centre or wherever you've got to be. But then again, the Land Cruiser does everything so well as well. You know, it handles the melancholy country a bit better. You know, it's got plenty of torque. It's got the, you know, turbo diesel whistle, which always sounds good too. I mean, this shifts okay in manual mode also, but it hasn't got that sporty feel like the Patrol does.
With me or not, but you better give all you got, cause I break the chains. Can't control me.
Well, let's check out the turning circle. I turned around here yesterday with the Patrol just to see what it was like. Patrol turning circle was awesome, and so is the Landcruiser actually. Absolutely fantastic. The Landcruiser gearbox seems to be happy to stay in the gear it knows it's going to make it all the way up in the hill in. Where the Patrol hunt up to third, back to second, third, second. I think that's where the torque of the turbo diesel comes into it. But look, all in all, 6 of one, half a dozen the other. Well, how about that? We've been driving through the scrub, driving down the highway, now we've made it to the weighbridge. I'm really excited to see how heavy this setup is. Well, how about that? I thought the Landcruiser was supposed to be a smidgen lighter than the Patrol, but it's come in 20 kilos heavier. So let's check what the fuel economy figures are going to be. Well, we're coming down the range now. We've gone through town, a bit of traffic because it's late in the afternoon, doing those 2 trips in one day. No, it's coming into the evening now. So here we go. I'm going to see, put it over into manual mode. I want to see what it's going to hold at 60 k's. Yesterday the Patrol, second gear, held 60, you just had to dab the brakes a little bit. See the Cruiser? Exactly the same. It's pushing it down. See, I think the Patrol held it a little bit better yesterday. Using the brakes a fair bit in the Landcruiser tonight to hold this up. Nothing's changed. Caravan weights are the same. Yeah, this one wants to run away a fair bit. I would have to jam this in first gear to get it to hold. A lot of this stuff I did not see coming. Landcruiser, well, in my opinion, it's let me down a bit. I had the Landcruiser pegged for the better tow vehicle. This feels like I've got to constantly ride the brakes. Keep this pulled up. The 80 zone, put her up to third. Third seems to be holding at 80, not too bad. Now we're into the 100 zone. We're over the drive. Well, there you have it. I had the Landcruiser pegged for the better tow vehicle. You know, engine braking, I would have thought the diesel would have been far superior. The Patrol, I've got to say, it's won that one, coming down the 𝗕𝗢𝗚𝗟𝗏 range in second gear, holding the weight of the van, using less brakes. Yeah. Well, we've done the big trip. We've done the 120 k's again. So let's see how much diesel it takes. Prediction, I think, looking at the fuel gauge, we may have used around that, yesterday the Patrol used 26 litres for that roughly same k's. I've got a feeling the Landcruiser may have used more, maybe 28. I'm a little bit nervous because usually the Landcruiser would be better on fuel than the Patrol, but this whole test has really blown me away. The Patrol is just next level with what I expected it to be. I thought the Landcruiser was the king of the mountain. I'm not saying that it's lost that title, but I'm saying that the Patrol might be really, really clicking at the heels. Holy dooly. I think my prediction might be a bit wrong. Maybe it's used a fair bit more fuel for that amount of k's than I expected it to. We'll just go again. Oh, that is really, really sad. You better have a look. Well, how about that? We've filled it up. I've done the calculations. It's done 120.6 Ks. The Patrol did 120.5, 100 metres difference in the whole trip. Now, I'm absolutely flabbergasted how much the Landcruiser got beaten on fuel economy. 29.17 litres per 100 Ks on that round trip. I've been trying to figure out, did I do something different? You know, there's no handbrake left on the Caravan. We did the same roads. I just can't work it out. That has beaten it. What was the Patrol? 22.25 litres per 100, and the Landcruiser's come in at 29.17. Tell you what, it's pretty hard to call the Landcruiser the king of the road, you know, or the best tow vehicle. When you got the Y62 Patrol, big stonking petrol V8. Petrol's a bit cheaper at the 𝗬𝗢𝗟𝗟 than the diesel as well, and it's beaten it on fuel economy. What's going on with this world? Everything's getting turned upside down. Anyway, the facts don't lie, and the figures, that's the truth. Anyway, I'll give you a bit of a rundown of my whole thoughts around the pair of the vehicles in a minute. Let's start with the gearbox. It shifts beautifully and all that sort of stuff, but when you get up to 100 k an hour, it doesn't like going into 6th gear. Now that's where the reflashes and all that sort of stuff come in. From factory, you expect them to perform quite well, but that's the downfall of the Landcruiser, is especially that gearbox. And I think that's contributed to the fuel economy. It would not go into top gear, where the Patrol, it would push straight up into 7th gear and it would tow that Caravan at 100 k an hour in top gear. That aside, the Cruiser, in my opinion, is far, far superior in the interior finish. Just those little tweaks that the Landcruiser has got just puts them a cut above in those areas. Another thing that is a Landcruiser trait, because it's all-wheel drive, they actually torque steer a bit when you really get under them, and especially when you've got a bit of a load on the back of them, it pushes the weight down on the rear axle, probably lifts that front up just a smidgen, and you apply that power and it does these ones on you. I mean, that aside, when you're on the highway and you're cruising along at 100 k an hour, it feels very, very secure. The all-wheel drive actually holds it to the road, superior to the Patrol. Another pro to the Landcruiser, they come with the tow bar inbuilt to them already. All you got to do is buy the tongue and fit the wiring. I mean, that's a big bonus. You don't actually have to go and source a non-factory Heyman and Reese or anything like that. Another cool feature the Landcruiser has got, it's got crawl control. Now, it's got all these different terrain settings that you can have when you don't have it in crawl control, but when you get into a sticky situation, you click it over there and it does its little click-clack stuff, and it usually pulls yourself out. The Landcruiser didn't perform quite as well in the tow test on fuel economy, but going down the highway, I can tell you right now, on a good trip, you actually get good fuel economy. It's about 12.5 litres per 100 Ks when you're just driving along as you should, doing the speed limit. Look, as we know, we all can put the pedal to the metal from time to time, and that is going to use more fuel. And I think that's where people get a bit confused. Oh, my car doesn't get this, it doesn't get that. But hey, if you actually drive it quite sedately and normally, they're going to get better fuel economy than when you're up it. Well, I really love Landcruisers. As a family car, a combined touring vehicle slash tow vehicle slash go to the shops car, I can't go past it. I absolutely love them. The stuff I really love about this Patrol is the big V8. There's nothing gets anyone going like that big V8 rumble, and the massive amount of kilowatts it's putting out. Not quite as much torque as the Landcruiser, but that didn't worry it. It absolutely dragged that van like it wasn't even there. The great thing about the Nissan Patrol gearbox is that it actually selects top gear when you're doing 100, and that is a massive plus for me. You don't actually have to reflash the transmission like a Landcruiser, but in saying this, when it was in drive and we were towing the van, it would hunt through the gears a little bit until it got to the section of road where it could select top gear, where the Landcruiser, it would hold its gears better. You would get up through those small pinches and all that sort of stuff, but the downfall of Landcruiser, when you got onto those nice sections of road, it would not select top gear. The fuel economy on this Patrol actually blew me away while it was towing, but not when it's unladen. That's where the Patrol actually uses nearly the same amount of fuel per 100 as it does when it's towing. I did that same loop, 19.1 litres per 100 without towing the van versus 22.25. So if you're cruising around and actually using that car for work, taking your kids to school, going to the shops or whatever else, you're going to be using a hell of a lot more fuel than the Landcruiser in that respect. Another thing I'm not sure about the Patrol is the independent rear suspension. I think off-road purposes and you're wheeling it, 35-inch tyres, it's going to be an animal. It's going to be like a Can-Am buggy or something like that, where it can walk over the rocks, especially with twin diff locks, absolutely unstoppable. But when you've got that load behind it and the downbore weight, the van pushing it around, the independent suspension doesn't quite know what it's doing versus the solid rear axle. So for towing, it's solid rear axle all the way. Look, I know it's not a big deal, but you've got to buy a tow bar for these Nissan Patrols. It's not an inbuilt feature like the Landcruiser, but for what you pay for a Patrol, you have got a lot of change to build this car how you want it. The interior on the Patrol, I think, is fantastic, but lacks a little bit of finish versus the Landcruiser. Now, it doesn't quite fit my stature. The volume control is far over on the left. I know you can use the hand controls on the steering wheel, but that doesn't cut it all the time. So, look, the seats are quite big, fit bigger people. I'm only small, so look, that's just my opinion. If you're a bigger person, tall, wide shoulders, all the rest of the stuff, the Patrol is going to fit you so well. Look, another fantastic feature to this Nissan Patrol is it's got a rear diff lock. Now, I understand that the Landcruiser is crawl control, and I've used crawl control a lot. I've done a lot of wheeling in Landcruisers, haven't done a huge amount in Patrols. But when you've got a standard rear diff lock, and you just need to get out of those really horrible snotty bits of pieces, you just whack that diff lock on, give her a bit of acceleration, and you're out of there. Not quite the same with the crawl control on the Landcruiser. You've got to let it do its click-clack stuff. When you accelerate, it actually heats up the transmission, and look, it can give you a bit of drama. Diff locks are the way to go, in my opinion. The number one feature to this Nissan Patrol is the price tag. Now, you can do so much to these things with the leftover change instead of buying a Landcruiser, and that's a big plus. You can actually kit these things out to make it the absolute touring weapon. The Nissan Patrol is an absolutely fantastic car, underrated, you know, probably underpriced versus its competitor. Just a cracking car. Well, there we have it, folks. We've done the big round trip, 120 k's of mixed terrain. There's been some adventures in there. I've crashed on the step on the caravan when I was towing it with the Patrol. We made that extra clearance on that same hump, and the Cruiser didn't have that drama pulling the van over it. But look, I'm absolutely blown away by both vehicles, and there is a standout, honestly. It's because I didn't expect it to be so good, and that is the Patrol. I really am blown away by it. The buy price on the Patrols are far cheaper than the Cruiser. I mean, the Petrol V8 actually really was surprising. I thought it wouldn't have as much torque as it did, but it towed that van so well, you know. Yes, I feel that the Landcruiser is probably more planted on the ground, especially at low speeds. Higher speeds on the highway, probably much of a muchness. But look, it all comes down to personal preference. Today, it has been a really big eye-opener for me, and I'm in shock. I really am. The Patrol, it got better fuel economy than the Landcruiser. Now, where did that come from? Who would have thought the big V8 petrol was going to eat the Landcruiser on fuel economy? Oh, I tell you, I am just blown away by this Patrol. In saying that, I'm still a cruiser man at heart. I like how they fit me in the interior. I like how they drive. It's just a little bit more refined and comfortable. I mean, that's what you pay probably the extra money for in the Cruiser. But look, hands down, if I was going to choose the car, that's got to be my pick. And as everybody thinks, I'm a Landcruiser man through and through. I'm a Toyota nut, absolutely love them. And it really hurts me to say that I would pick the Patrol, but the facts don't lie. Absolutely nothing wrong with that car, and I do not know why people have been sort of giving them a bad rap for so long. Sorry to say it to all my Toyota fans out there. I've got to pick the Patrol on this one. Well, I hope you guys out there have enjoyed this episode as much as I have had making it. I tell you, I've learnt so much about both vehicles, and if you have enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to our channel, and I'll catch you on the flip side.